Far Cry 4 starts off with the introduction of the main character and his journey to Kyrat, a place situated near the Himalayas where he is going to find Lakshman because that was his mom's last wish. On this journey, he's being escorted by this guy, Darpan, and some rebels. Trouble starts when the tour bus that they're in gets stopped at a checkpoint by the Royal Army guards who are hunting down the rebels. Needless to say, a firefight breaks out and Ajay, our main character, gets caught up in it as well, so he has to get out of the bus and witness the landing of the myth, the man, the legend, Pagan Min. This guy leads the Royal Army and had ordered the guards to stop the bus and not shoot it. After repeating this same line about 5 times, he kills one of the guards with a pen made of gold. I mean, if that wasn't normal enough, he starts to act all cordial with Ajay, takes a selfie with him, and then asks his guards to put a bag over his head. The next time the bag is removed from Ajay's head, he finds himself sitting at a dining table with Pagan, Darpan, and another guy named Deplore. This is where Pagan reveals in his awesome fashion that he was our mother's lover, but Ajay was not his son. Rudely interrupting this family reunion was Darpan, trying to text his rebel friends to save him from the situation, and needless to say, Pagan gets him thrown in a torture room where he decides to go himself and kindly asks us to not move while he's gone. So, obviously, the first thing I did was move. I made my way down the stairway where Darpan was being tortured. But because I am a cold-blooded reptile in real life after all, I just decided to move on towards the exit, upon which we're introduced to Sabal. This guy is sort of the leader of the rebel group whose name is revealed as the Golden Path. They claim they're here to save Ajay, and without a moment's thought, Ajay grabs their hand and makes a run for it. What follows is an awesome action sequence filled with needless killing using an awful small machine gun, kinda just letting it sink that this is indeed a first-person shooter. The ride is ended, however, with an accident where obviously the main character survives. He retrieves the walkie-talkie from the driver and using it is told by Sabal that he needs to make it to a bell tower visible in the distance for safety. This is where the game kind of really begins. You are introduced to stealth fundamentals here. One of the awesome accessories of Far Cry games, being the camera, is very useful in this situation as it helps to tag enemies, making it easier to escape from most of them and kill the ones that are in your way. Another new element added to the game was introduced next through bait. Basically, when you skin animals, not only do you get the skin for crafting, but you also get a piece of meat which you can throw as bait, which lures predators like this bear, which will eat your enemies alive, giving you an advantage so you can clean up behind them easily. After a couple of similar action sequences and jumping on cliffs, Ajay was finally able to reach the bell tower, where someone helped us rappel up and Sabal welcomed us in the bell tower. He explained that Ajay was the son of Mohan Ghale, who was the founder of the Golden Path, and therefore they were helping him. Till, of course, gunshots started coming from outside and it was a firefight where Ajay had to help the Golden Path. The Royal Army soldiers came dressed in white Eskimo-like clothes, and so spotting them in the snow was a little troublesome, but with my AK that I picked up from the guards and the plenty of ammo they had stashed, the fight was not too problematic. Until an avalanche hit the whole bell tower, upon which a cutscene shows Sabal digging up Ajay from a pile of snow and saying the infamous words.
You're a tough man to kill, brother.
And this brings an end to the prologue. The next cutscene is in a village which is a hideout of the Golden Path. Sabal takes us there, and here we get to meet two other characters, Amita and Bhadra. Amita turns out to be the co-leader of the Golden Path with Sabal. This strong, independent woman takes no prisoners and is furious at Sabal that instead of bringing back Darpan, he rescued a tourist. I mean, to be fair, she has a point, or maybe I'm just saying that because I think she's pretty. But anyways, there seems to be some tension between Sabal and Amita, and I guess more of that will be apparent in our stay in this mad town. After the cutscene ends, Ajay has the option to take on two missions, and I chose the Sabal one first. This mission introduces bell towers as an element to the game. Like almost every Ubisoft game ever, bell towers are buildings which you climb, and by interacting with them, areas of the map are revealed. So we are sent by Sabal to do the same. Upon reaching there, the place looks like an accident spot where a stray grappling hook is lying on the ground. This is another new aspect of the game, and one that I personally enjoy a lot. It's a tool which will always be with you, and you can grapple onto grapple points to climb up cliffs, or if you're feeling funky, swing across them. Using the hook, I reached the bell tower where a couple of soldiers were guarding the tower, but taking them out was no problem. Here I also took down a propaganda poster. This is one of the many collectibles scattered all around the map which I'll have to collect to get my completion to 100%. The bell towers themselves, though, are a little boring and unimaginative in my opinion. Far Cry 3 had amazing radio towers that felt like real structures that were wiry and made you feel that they would break under your own weight. These are kinda just wooden, plain, and like I said, kinda boring, but they get the job done. After liberating them, like I said, the map is revealed, and so are some key locations and the animals that can be found in the neighborhood. Also following the trend from Far Cry 3, you get free weapons when you liberate these towers, so that's nice too. After completion of the mission, I ziplined down from the tower and was straight away introduced to a side activity, Golden Path Supplies. These side missions are also essential for 100% completion, but they are pretty easy. Like this particular one just gives the task of going to certain places, picking up supplies and dropping them off with the Golden Path Brethren before a timer runs out. They don't let you know what is in the supplies, which is strange, but nobody cares about that anyways, as long as they pay us, so it's all good. The next main mission is from Amita. You know, that chick who wasn't all that pleased to see us in the first place. She kinda apologizes for her behavior, but still wants us to prove our worth, so she sends us to this farm where this lady has a wolf problem. Of course, that's not the only problem she seems to have, but anyways, the one that we can solve involves a bunch of wolves in a den. This is basically a mission to get you all comfy with using a bow. If you kill an animal without using bullets, you can double the skin for the clean kill. As far as the main objective goes, it was pretty straightforward and was just a matter of getting the wolves into the den and then shooting this barrel which blows it up for good. Upon returning from our journey of hunting, we have a brief conversation with Bhadra, the little girl, and how she's supposed to be some goddess due to some religious stuff that Sabal believes in, and more interestingly, Amita is against. After the mission was over, I made my way over to a trading post and purchased the recurve bow. It is much stronger than the standard one, and by equipping the marksman sight, I made it much more accurate as well. There are a ton of reasons why I like this bow in the early game, and one of the major ones is hunting. Like I mentioned before, hunting with arrows yields double skins, and this bow is powerful enough that it pretty much one-shots all of the weaker animals and can indeed, with a little bit of effort and patience, kill a honey badger too. After I was done hunting and crafting some generic upgrades, I made my way over to see Longinus. He's an eccentric character who supplies guns to the Golden Path. Oh, and he loves God, or so it seems. It was being explained in this cutscene that Longinus provides the free weapons that you get from liberating bell towers, when suddenly Ajay receives an emergency call claiming that the village is under attack from the royal army. So obviously, being the superhero that Ajay is, he makes his way to the village. For this particular mission, I bought the STG assault rifle equipped with a red dot sight to help me fight through combat sequences. What you're tasked with in this mission is to avoid death and kill all the Royal Army guards you see in front of you. After that, you will have to fight through 1 or 2 waves of reinforcements brought in through choppers before Sabal will inform you that Bhadra is in trouble. So it's only a matter of getting to the community bunker, jumping into the house on fire, and rescuing Bhadra single-handedly. Of course, after all the action is over, the cavalry arrives with Amida and Sabal. Turns out that the royal army took some hostages from this village in the attack and have also captured an outpost nearby. Amida adamantly demands to focus the attention of the Golden Path on the outpost, but Sabal instead sends us to rescue the hostages. The hostage rescue mission is a set of side missions actually, and this is the first taste that the player gets of it. The rules are simple. If you get detected, the soldiers will start killing the hostages. Therefore, stealth is pretty much mandatory. Fortunately, the recurve bow does a great job at killing guards from a distance in one shot. I got a little sloppy in the end and ended up getting detected, but fortunately, I was able to kill the one guard left before he could cost me the mission. Needless to say, this makes Sabal very pleased with us, but Amida, not so much. She explains that the guards that she had rallied to attack the outpost will now need to protect the hostages, and therefore Ajay takes it upon himself to take out the outpost without any help. Outposts are basically areas on the map where there are a bunch of soldiers holed up. Your job is to kill all the guards to take the outpost for yourself, and it'll give you a safe house and a fast travel point. Doing this job stealthily is easier since if you're spotted, reinforcements are called and yada yada yada, it's tougher. One very helpful skill to take down the outpost is to use a hunting syringe. This highlights all the enemies and animals nearby to you. In this outpost, there was an elephant just chilling there, which I used to my advantage. Hitting the elephant made it angry and made it attack all the guards, and the ones that it left, I sniped them down with my bow. Needless to say, this outpost takeover was one of the easiest I got to do in the game, and one of the most fun too. And as a bonus, this impressed Amida, if you're into that sort of thing. Amita revealed that she knew Ajay's mother and how she thinks it is his destiny to help the Golden Path, and it's his mother who has led him back to Kyrat. So, with all that being said, and a ceremonial look at the urn, Act 1 came to a close. Act 1 was a basic introduction to the game. Upon its completion, I actually would like to do some side quests first before getting to the main missions, and I'm going to start with this specific bell tower first. The reason for that is because all the enemies that are present here are from the northern part of Kyrat. And the reason why that is important is because they are carrying stronger weapons. Weapons that you won't get until much later in the game. However, by killing these guys and picking up their stuff, you can get your hands on some seriously powerful stuff like the sniper rifle. The Z93. This is a high caliber gun that can shoot through walls, and most importantly for me, this early on can have a suppressor and an enhanced scope. This will make life in the early game a lot more pleasant and easier. The way side quests work in this game is that they spawn after the liberation of an outpost or bell tower at the respective location. The quest I am attempting right now is called Armed Escort, which tasks you with guarding a truck of supplies through hordes of enemies. It also gives you the M79 sidearm grenade launcher, which is my favorite sidearm of the whole game, so I like to do this quest early on. Other side quests include hostage rescues, assassinations with mandatory stealth, Golden Path supplies that I did before, and this one of my favorites, an eye for an eye. This quest requires that you kill the commanders, dudes with body armor pretty much, with a specific weapon every time. Other enemies can be dispatched off as needed, but it really makes you use different weapons and strats every time and makes assassinations more interesting this way. Other things that I did included Karate Fashion Week, where this crazy guy called Mr. Chiffon gives you assignments to kill rare animals with a particular weapon and skin them. This couples really well with the fact that you'd need these rare animals to complete the final crafting upgrades anyways. Also hunting control activities where you save civilians and rebels from attacking predators, and propaganda-centered quests given by none other than Rabi Ray Rana, the voice of Radio Free Kirat. Love that guy. These quests are fun since there is no element of stealth needed, and basically you have to blow stuff up that is around you, flashing in red, which is described to be used for bad propaganda. So after doing all this stuff, this is what my map looks like right now. I got all outposts, bell towers in southern Kirat, since you can't enter the northern part till you advance in the story. And advancing in the story is what we're about to do right now. The next mission is introduced by this lady, who tells us how Amita and Sabal have been quarreling. Some rebels hit up soldier camps and now are in danger. Sabal wants to save the soldiers, and Amita thinks that the original objective, getting intel from soldier camps, is more important, and Ajay is left to choose between the two. Personally, I liked Sabal more at this point, and therefore I went with him, and he instructed me to rendezvous with the soldiers at the camp. This mission introduces hunters to the game. These guys with the crossed arrow symbols, and let me tell you something, they are no joke. These guys shoot arrows and fire arrows, disappear even after you tag them, and can lure predators and set them off on you. Fortunately, in this mission they went for the element of brute force and straightforward attack, and sniping them really wasn't that big of a problem, especially with the help of a couple hunting syringes. You had to do pretty much the same in two different camps, dealing with hunters mostly, which are a real problem while completing outposts too, but not a lot they can do against the Z93 in this particular case. The next mission, Ajay meets a Sabal who is very proud of Ajay's work and happy about his decision, obviously. He talks about a lot of spiritual stuff and asks Ajay to go to the monastery to educate himself of what drives the Golden Path and its members. The monastery itself is a place where you have to do a bunch of religious stuff, and it gives you karma. First thing, the guy who's escorting you makes you light a candle, then some incense, then spin the money wheel, which gives you a ton of karma, and finally throw some powder in a burning pile or something. I don't know, man. What do I look like? An Indian? God. So, next, the guy escorts us to a room where they show a goat being sacrificed to the god Yalung, and after that we are free to leave. Or so I thought, but upon getting outside, Ajay is greeted with his best friends in red pants and hats. The idea behind this action sequence is that the bad guys in the Royal Army are attacking the monastery by trying to bomb various statues and doors and whatever not, and you are tasked to stop those bombers. The thing is that since the monastery is designed as it is, standing in one place and hoping to snipe everyone is not an option, so therefore Ajay has to run around the whole place killing these guys. Although it does get a little annoying and tedious after a couple of rounds, it is not that hard and I was able to complete this mission comfortably. The next sequence is a super awkward talk with the little girl Bhadra. I don't know why Ajay was even talking to her in the first place, but somehow the conversation builds up to Bhadra leaking the info that Ajay's dad was murdered and that his old home still stood strong. Ajay obviously wants to know more, and Bhadra obviously can't say more, so we gotta check this shit out ourselves. So I made my way to this homestead and found it infested by two American dudes. Infested? Is that the word? I don't know. These guys are awesome. And by awesome, I mean they talk a lot of bullshit. Half of the stuff that they say doesn't mean anything, and the other half is made up and preposterous. Oh, and it turns out that they were working for one of Pagan Min's lieutenants called Noor. So, yeah, good talk. When Ajay wakes up, he finds himself tied in chains and there's a gorgeous woman standing in front of him. Unfortunately, it's not all sexy. That woman is the owner of the Shanat Arena, where people fight to the death. And without a doubt, Ajay is pushed straight into it as well. So the way the arena works is basically you have to survive 3 or 4 rounds of enemies, which may range from people to predators and everything in between. You are obviously thrown in there naked, so you have no weapons, health syringes or anything, but the crowd can give you stuff if you're exciting enough. So as the objective states, you have to survive 5 rounds, in this case of enemies being released, and the final round has the toughest ones, aka a bunch of guys with assault rifles and a heavy. It's not that tough though, especially if you have skills like improvised surgery and heavy takedown unlocked. I took out the smaller guys first and left the heavy for last because in that case I can kind of cheese him into walking around a corner and then take him down from behind, which is exactly what I ended up executing. Once out of the arena, things got interesting. The lieutenant that just tried to kill us confessed that her family was hostages with Pagan Min and that's the only reason she had to work for him. She asks Ajay for her help and I mean, look at how beautiful she is. She could have literally stabbed Ajay herself in the arena and Ajay would still probably want to fuck her. I mean, help her. Yeah, don't blame Ajay there at all. So the arena is now open as a side quest. It does not play a part in getting 100% completion other than the fact that it unlocks a skill and a gun which I will require, so I will be grinding in there for a while. But before that, I decided to give my boys Yogi and Reggie a visit. Ajay is obviously pissed at them for stabbing him with a syringe and not getting out of his parents' house, but these two guys bullshit their way out of this one again. I really gotta learn this stuff from these dudes. They turned the subject into a blank board hung in the Gale homestead where tankas used to be hung. Those are ancient painting scrolls that are supposed to be the doorway to Shangri-La, and Ajay is sent on a mission to retrieve one of them. And of course, the cave that houses one of these tankas is under heavy guard of the Royal Army. Well, I shouldn't say heavy guard because all it is are a bunch of hunters that are pretty easy to take down with the help of a couple of 8 syringes and the Z93. After that, you have to do a little bit of navigating around the cave using the grapple hook to land yourself to the opposite side of a door that leads to the room which houses the Thangka. Upon opening it, Ajay's vision starts to blur and we are plunged into the world of Shangri-La, living the legend of Kalinag. Now listen, if you're into this sort of shit with the supernatural things happening around you and this fantasy world crap, then you're probably gonna be intrigued by this. Otherwise, you're just gonna be like me and wish that this was over as soon as possible. I guess I gotta give the creative people some credit since this world is utterly beautiful and the whole monologue going on is done in Hindi, which, as a guy who speaks Hindi, I appreciate. So here's what's going on, more or less. We are Kalinag and have been plunged into this paradise-like place called Shangri-La. We meet this tiger dude who is injured and we take the blade out of his body and when he seems to be with us in spirit from here on out. Upon exploring further, we run into some demons who supposedly injured the tiger. And that is confirmed when our tiger friend attacks the demon before it almost takes us out. So, from here on out, our objective is to spin 2 Mani wheels and ring the bell of enlightenment to drive the demons away from Shangri-La. You can use your tiger dude to help you take these guys out, kinda like you use the dog in Fallout 4. Once you're done clearing the field a bit, it's easy enough to just walk up to the bell and swing it like crazy, and you have to do this twice. Once you do, surprise surprise, it unlocks another bell that you have to swing. This time it is being guarded by some better cavalry though. Mainly these heavy dudes with a flamethrower, which it is recommended that you use the tiger to distract and then attack them from behind. Once you kill him, you're pretty much home free. Just walk up to the last bell, free it, and boom! All demons are gone as advertised. And thankfully, so are you. The mission ends with a cutscene with you teleporting to the homestead with the Thangka and Yogi and Reggie bidding farewell to you. For now. Now that you have the Gale homestead to yourself, you can purchase upgrades for it, like your very own weapons cupboard. And speaking of which, I spent a little bit of time after this mission going around town and spinning Mani wheels because they give you a bunch of karma to get you to level 6. Why would you want that, you may ask? To get this, I may answer, which is subjectively the best weapon of Far Cry 4. The Shredder is an SMG with an optical sight and a silencer, and it shreds things. I replaced it with the recurve bow because I pretty much have all my crafting upgrades done, and the only animals that I'll need to kill will be pesky hunters, and I think that the Shredder does a better job in that regard anyways. Speaking of unlocking guns, you need to acquire every single one to complete the game 100%, and therefore I jumped into the arena again to battle and reach rank 10. This can be a bit of a grind, but not too bad though. The round that I'm showing you right now is the final round of my final battle, which is arguably the easiest. Here, you know what enemies are out and where they're coming from. Also, since you would have killed enemies before, chances are you'll have an LMG by this point, which does make things a lot easier, and that's all she wrote. After reaching rank 10, you unlock the Bushman, arguably the best assault rifle in the game. Unfortunately, it will not find a place in my loadout, but it still is pretty cool. After that little bit of side activity, it was time to dive back into the main missions of Yogi and Reggie. These guys have apparently not gone anywhere except posting a tent right outside the homestead where they're talking about telepathy because they're Yogi and Reggie. They offer Ajay one drug too, and Gale makes a huge mistake in accepting it because, of course, their tomfoolery was soon to follow. Ajay wakes up in a delirious state in a cave full of bears. As you can see, they're already tagged, and I guess this mission was kinda meant to be an advertisement for the hunting syringe. Your objective here is to find Yogi and Reggie, but as you may notice, the colors are a bit funky and you don't have your gear. This distortion of reality is possibly a side effect of the drugs injected in you and follows nicely with the fact that you are constantly wrong about the whereabouts of Yogi and Reggie and therefore have to run around unarmed going place to place. Fortunately, along the way, I managed to run into a buzzer, which did speed things up considerably. Not only getting to the locations got faster, but I also did not have to deal with the BS that spawned on said locations instead of Yogi and Reggie. Finally, Ajay ends up finding them in a cave and is furious with them, only to be made to look like an idiot for accepting the smoke in the first place. So apparently, all this mission did was to unlock the duration boost for the hunting syringes. But unfortunately, a prereq of that skill will not be unlocked until a later mission. Okay? Nonsense mechanics aside, the next quest was of Longinus. This cutscene was pretty straightforward if you remove the religious stuff that he says. Longinus needs guns to supply to the Golden Path, and for that he asks us to go to the Himalayas. Oh yeah, talking to this guy right here takes us to the Himalayas, which are pre-planned small explorable areas of the game. One super annoying mechanic that is added to the gameplay with this location are the oxygen masks. Basically, you have a meter that goes down with time and you can replenish them with oxygen supplies that, as far as I know, some enemies drop and some don't, and sometimes you find them randomly lying around. It's janky is what my point is, and kinda makes the whole mechanic a little unintuitive. Your objective basically is to find some boxes with some stuff in them using an object tracker, all the while trying to not get eaten by wolves or just killed any other way. The way the object tracker works is that it beeps when you're pointing it in the correct direction and you loot bodies to get the boxes, of which the first one is empty and surprise surprise, so is the second one. Finally, after a bunch of forced gameplay, once you do get the final box, you are, well, just asked to go back to your starting location and come back to Kyrat. Kinda anticlimactic, you may assume, but then the game hits you with this cutscene where Longinus reveals what was really inside the box you retrieved. He never needed weapons for the Golden Path. This was just to retrieve these diamonds, which he says are a part of his old life, a life where he committed sins and was awarded these for each one. And if that wasn't heavy enough, he tells us that Deplore is preparing a large opium shipment into Kyrat. Why is that supposed to be heavy? I don't know, I just couldn't think of a better segue. But anyways, opium. That leads to another debate in the Golden Path. Sabal thinks it is poison and wants to burn it. Amita thinks it's moolah and wants to sell it. I mean, look at this crazy bitch. Does she not have any principles in that mind of hers? Sabal is my man. Actually, I think Amita is being practical here, but I like Sabal more, so I'm going to go with him. Plus, his mission sounds more fun anyways, and in a lot of ways was a kickback to Far Cry 3, burning up wheat fields. There are a lot of ways you can accomplish your objective here to burn up fields and shipment supplies. The flamethrower being the most awesome / impractical / awesome way. The one that I also used a lot is Molotovs, but you also have mortars at your disposal if they tickle your fancy. Needless to say, at the end of the mission, Sabal is proud of your actions and Amita thinks that you're an idiot. She argues the fact that those drugs could have been used for medicines and books somehow, and segues into mentioning that Sabal is blinded by religion and even then is not doing anything about Pagan's plan to destroy the ancient statues. Hearing that, the one-man army of Kyrat, Ajay obviously, decides to visit the bombing site himself. The site of the mission is riddled with Royal Army guards and a stealthy approach is recommended here. This mission actually gives a brief intro to the bomb defusal side quests in the game and works on the principle that once you are detected, the guards time the bomb to blow up and you have to race against the clock to get to the bomb and defuse it by pressing and holding E. After you complete that feat of strength and skill, reinforcements start to come in. Thankfully, you are pretty much gonna be at a vantage point anyways, and you can snipe the incoming guards with ease. After a while, however, they do start to come in numbers, and it can get a little overwhelming with the choppers and stuff, so I pulled out my shredder and laid down the final beatdown. After the action sequences, we get a call from Sabal, which is weird because this mission was given by Amita. Anyways, instead of thanking you and being all appreciative and stuff, Sabal hands us even more work to do. Climb and swing like a monkey onto each hand of the statue to light the flames. Because religion. Yeah, you're welcome, Sabal. Next up was a quest from Longinus. This mission is not a part of the main story, but a side one of 4 that you have to do for Longinus. The precedent for these is pretty straightforward. Longinus wants you to recover more blood diamonds scattered around Kyrat, and therefore you are tasked to hunt down commanders, follow them, preferably stealthily, and get them to go to the compound where the blood diamonds are stored. From there you can kill the commander, loot his keys, go into the compound and retrieve the blood diamonds. Then you return to a location provided by Longinus and you supply the blood diamonds to a box, and you have to do pretty much the same thing 4 times. While I was taking care of this side stuff, Noor called me for a hot date. Woohoo! Oh baby, this is gonna... yeah, not a date at all. She is just crying because she wants her family back. The premise here is that Noor thinks that her family is hostage with another lieutenant of pagans, that is Deplore, and Noor wants us to break into his compound and take him hostage. Since a kidnapping is the main objective, stealth is forced. You are tasked to get into a truck of prisoners to get into Deplore's compound. Once there, Sabal orders you to bring in Deplore alive if possible and save any hostages that we come across. My strategy of sorts was to try to take the path of least resistance, that is to take the path with the least amount of soldiers. You're also timely intimated to hide the bodies periodically because you don't want any chaos in the area. Hunting syringes come handy in this mission and makes rescuing slaves easier. But you can't break stealth just after doing that either. You still have to reach Deplore's compound without alerting him. Once you do, you rescue another civilian that Deplore had tied up, and Ajay wears the bag on his head and sits down to attend to Paul, personally. This is where the writing team tried to flavorize the character of Deplore a bit, and I think they did a good job. In this cutscene, Deplore is seen talking to his wife and little kid in America who are living a normal life, thinking that Paul is a businessman. Kind of an emotional touch, which I like, but Ajay? Oh no, he ain't got no emotions. He just completes missions. So after headbutting Deplore to pure oblivion, the rest of the mission is basically a sequence where you carry him out of the compound. This need not be done stealthily, and getting to the conveniently parked car at an entrance is quite easy. While driving away with Deplore in the trunk, he reveals that all this that we did for Noor was in vain. Pagan Min had her parents killed years ago, and it was Paul's daughter that was writing her letters. Obviously furious at the guy, Ajay hands him to the Golden Path, who promised to take good care of him. Gotta say I'm quite okay without knowing what happens to him inside that shed. So with Deplore no longer running his business, it makes it a good of a time as any to attack his fortress. The fortresses in this game have this huge wall that you can grapple onto, and this is the basic strat that I use to take down pretty much all of them. It gives you enough room to hide if guards get suspicious, and not to mention the unprecedented advantage of being on a vantage point so that you can pick your shots and snipe everyone out and clean up on the ground if needed. After liberating a significant part of Kyrat, I thought that it was time to hunt down one more of the Tankas and go back to Shangri-La. The basic story of Kalinak continued here, where he roamed around Shangri-La trying to find where the demons were coming from. In this specific mission, the bow is introduced to us. I like this addition where this bow has a cooldown timer, and while aimed and drawn, it can slow down time so that you can really line up headshots easily. Other than that, the gameplay of this area is quite hit and miss for me. I mean, you might like it, but just the fact that the demons keep reappearing no matter how many of them you kill, and not killing them does no harm either. You can just straight up run to the Mani wheel and the Bell of Enlightenment and press and hold E, and that's it. What is intriguing though is the shadow of this large bird shown at the end of this mission. Incoming epic boss battle maybe? Well, that's for later, because right now we had to go to Amita and listen to her bicker for a solid 5 minutes about how her life is difficult because she is a woman trying to survive in a man's world, and boy was it an enlightening and original speech that she gave. Anyways, the real TLDR of this mission's cutscene was that the plantation that we burned, some of the packages left there safe and are being transported to a factory. Sabal wants to destroy them, and Amita wants them for herself. And Kyrat's future, possibly. This seemed kind of redundant because I literally made the exact same choice before too. I mean, why will I change it? The game has given me no good reason to, and therefore I accepted Sabal's proposal and made my way to the factory. There are poles with cables here, which we are supposed to destroy, which are guarded by Royal Army guards with alarms for backup. I went after the alarms first. Taking a stealthy approach often tends to be the one with the least resistance in its path, and therefore I went with it. After taking out the guards one by one, I made my way to the cable poles. The easiest was to destroy them, seemed the good old-fashioned explosives, and that's what I went with here. There's an elephant you can ride as well, which may be used to destroy the poles, but I just bombed them and got him down, no problem. You are actually supposed to ride said elephant though, and yeah, check this out. To ram onto the chimney of the factory, which is no longer being supported by cables. That's cool. This provides an opening for Ajay to jump into the factory and pretty much wreak havoc and kill everything in sight. The objective here is to set explosives at various points in the factory, and once done, get out of there and watch heroin burn right in front of your eyes. Boy am I glad that Sabal leads the golden path. Yeah, these two are never gonna get it together. That's what I thought and went in expecting another conflict, but instead, this time they agreed on one agenda. To kill Noor. Thankfully, Ajay, my man, isn't just a dude who takes orders from these two, except like 99% of the time, and we are sent on our way to Shanat. Due to a huge show being going on at the arena, Ajay is forced to take the route of the air vents, all Batman style. Once inside, you have to make your way over to the control room where you take out 2 guards and, check this out, take control of releasing all the animals you want on the Royal Army guards. This infuriates Noor, who is personally conducting the show, and she sends some guards after us. Getting rid of these guys is no big deal, especially with the help of some backstage wildlife, and after that you are pretty much home free. You can just walk up to Noor, where Ajay wields a pistol. Here you can choose to either kill her or spare her, and I mean, it shouldn't really even be a choice. Noor turns around and immediately starts crying when she hears about her family, and crying is not the only thing that she does. Yup, I have a crush on one lady in a video game, and she gets eaten by bears and tigers. Such is life. But in case you were worrying that with Noor dead, there would be one less person who could tell Ajay what to do, well, don't fear, because Willis makes a return from Far Cry 3. He's a guy who works for some guys in America who want Pagan Min dead, but before that, Ajay has to make sure that he is able to land his plane safely at the airport. To achieve that, there are snipers that need to be taken out without alerting the main commander of the area. Spotting the snipers honestly is the big challenge here, because the airstrip is so big that even the hunting syringe isn't able to cover the whole area. Therefore, changing positions and using multiple of them is pretty much required. However, once spotted, taking them out is easy, just make sure you take a silenced sniper rifle with you. Once that's done, you are tasked to overlook a meeting between Willis and the commander of the airport, and start shooting bitches if things go wrong. Yeah, it goes without saying that things did go wrong, and I did start shooting bitches. All this while, you have to make sure Willis doesn't die from being a doofus. That is only a problem for half the mission though, because in between he just decides to stop helping you kill all the guards and runs away and hides. Seriously, he says this himself. Thankfully, I did not need his assistance all that much, but things did get real with backup troops pulling in from everywhere carrying snipers and driving guards up to mortars. Once in the clear, Willis finally comes out of the warehouse. He holed himself in and drops some knowledge on us that some info about Ajay's dad is in a plane that is about to be out of here. And I mean, do I even need to mention what Ajay does next? Nah, we all get it. Ajay Ghale, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, that file was a lie and just an excuse to put in an awesome action cutscene into the game. For some real knowledge about Mohan Ghale, Willis wants us to do his bidding. What a surprise. He apparently stays and lives in his plane at the airstrip till you decide to visit him, upon which he gets Ajay in and takes off to the Himalayas. On our way, he describes that people we're going up against are Yuma's lieutenants, who herself is the only major fortress holder left, besides Pagan Min, of course. Thankfully though, even though this mission is in the Himalayas, it does not have the oxygen mask mechanic attached to it. This is pretty much a normal karate mission where you have to kill a bunch of bad guys just with a white snowy skin on it. Once you do kill the target that has been marked on the map and send the picture back to Willis, yeah, he says that we killed the wrong man and asks us to kill everyone and let God sort out the rest because America, fuck yeah! Yeah. And that is kind of where I have the problem with this mission. It's all a bit drab, really. There really isn't much of an objective here. Just run through people and kill them kinda aimlessly. Sort of reminds me of the pointlessness of the Shangri-La missions, and it really is turning out to be a weak point in this game. Honestly, I enjoy the content that the side missions provide more than this because at least they force me to take alternative routes and use different weapons to use creative techniques to kill enemies, whereas here, it's just too straightforward for my liking. Anyways, once you do kill the final guy and all the other guys too, Willis picks you up and dumps you right back into Kyrat, and as promised, you get a Mohan Ghale's journal as a reward, which will be handy for my 100% completion checklist. And just as I was done complaining about the missions being a little too lackluster and mundane, Willis literally puts me back in the same location to cover the same objective again. Okay, there are a couple of different editions this time, and the big one is the revelation of the fact by Willis that Ajay's mom was cheating on his father with Pagan Min and therefore he wanted to kill her. So with that fucked up and incomplete knowledge, Ajay was dumped into the Himalayas once more to kill one more Yuma's lieutenant, just this time using a knife was compulsory, for some reason. I took this as an opportunity to make this mission a little more interesting for me and decided to kill all the guards using only a knife, just to spice things up a bit, or should I say, slice things up. Yeah, I should not say that. Never mind. Once I was done with all the lowlifes, I made it to the lieutenant. Chain took down 2 enemies and rushed the last one. After taking the obligatory dead person photograph, it was time to wingsuit my way out of there. Easy peasy. Yeah, just gotta avoid a couple of RPGs. No biggie. I made it over to Willis, and that was when the big plot twist came in the game. Ooh. Willis tells us that Pagan is no longer a threat to the US. The people that we've been killing, though, have been US Marshals deployed to do the job that was no longer required, and Ajay was pretty much being used for his dirty work. Oh, and one more thing. All this time, Willis had been working for Yuma. Yes, this is where the game actually begins. Sorta. Pagan Min may be one of the best characters in the Far Cry franchise. It blows my mind that it's starting Act 3 that he starts to get more involved with the actual story. But whatever, he's here and he's here to stay. Or actually, Ajay is the one who's here to stay, since he is a prisoner at Yuma's jail and upon her orders is about to get mind-fucked, which basically means another syringe being forcefully injected into him. Okay, so let me try to explain what is going on here. So Yuma is this crazy lady who is the first in command of Pagan Min, but she is obsessed with Kalinag and his journey in Shangri-La. Therefore, the drug she gave Ajay makes him delusional. The main goal here is to escape the prison using a grapple hook, or should I say, building a grapple hook. There are 2 pieces that you have to collect inside the prison, and of course, roaming around the place are Rakshas from Shangri-La. Oh, and you don't have any weapons, so pretty much you are forced to sneak around them. Thankfully, I had some hunting syringes left over, which I used to tag them so that it would make escaping from them a little easier. With a little bit of navigation through the maze of the prison, I made my way to grab the first part of the grappling hook. Thereafter, I turned around and went around the prison for the second one. Soon as I grabbed the second one, the Rakshas jumped me from behind and started attacking me like crazy, and therefore I had to quit the sneaking and embrace the running till I got to the grapple point, and after that I was out of there. What followed was actually a sequence of grappling down the mountain until I reached the final one, where Ajay was just about to go down, but that stupid thing came in and ruined everything. Ajay still survived though, obviously. A fall off a mountain ain't gonna do nothing to him, but he found himself in a slave camp with guards all around. Thankfully there were some throwing knives around, which were the only weapons with Ajay, not even his blade, to take down enemies. This obviously made this next segment a bit of a challenge, and I liked that. It forced me to learn the mechanics of throwing knives and move around quietly while being kind of a pacifist mostly, because a little bit of sound would alert all the guards, which I would have had to fight with 0 ammunition. There was one saving grace though, and that was the bell tower. Right in the beginning of the camp, there was a note left by a rebel about how the bell tower was a weapon stash of the guards, and therefore I slowly but surely made my way towards it. But once I did make it over there, the slowly and surely time was over. Shotguns, ammunition, sniper rifles, RPG, LMGs, you name it, this place had it all. Time to go to town, baby. I made my way to the top, grabbed a Z93 and started shooting everything in sight down. There's no need for a silencer at this point. The game gives you enough firepower that you almost feel invincible. The guards, they raise the alarm and try to put up a fight from the bottom, but nah, you can just waltz out of the prison holding a heavy machine gun and there won't be anyone left alive to stop you. will accept the snowstorm. Huh. After all that, feeling like a badass, a stupid snowstorm is what gets Ajay down. Thankfully, Sabal loves us enough to save us and he brings us back to the Gale homestead. They have a little bromance moment, which I am not against at all. Ajay looks at the urn one more time, cause why not? And then it's time to go hit Yuma back, this time with all our weapons. You see, the thing is, while Ajay was busy throwing knives at the Durgesh prison, the Golden Path came up with a plan to destroy the barrier at the King's Bridge and to get into the north. For that, Amita asks Ajay to hijack a truck full of chemicals and drive it into the bridge full steam. While Ajay quietly obliges, Sabal is not so keen on letting Amita take the credit, and therefore he directs Ajay to another chemical truck which is just there for the taking. Once aboard the truck, it is literally just a matter of driving it, since there is no auto drive, and fending off pesky guards that try to stop you in your tracks. This you have to do till you get to the King's Bridge, after which it is just a matter of exiting at the right moment and picking a good spot to watch the explosions go off. Once the barricade has been destroyed, the objective is simple: kill everyone. There are a couple of alarms in the area that will get sounded no matter what you do, and you kinda have to play around that because the backup is not gonna be just some regular old Royal Army soldiers. Instead, these would be the soldiers from the north, with better weapons and body armor and stuff. Fortunately, there are some allies that come to your aid, but the Royal Guard are no joke. They are relentless and their weapons are more powerful, but with a little bit of caution and playing it smart, it is easy enough to get around and killing them all. Once you do get rid of them, all you gotta do is invite the Golden Path in, and you're officially in the north now. Now obviously because of that, I had a whole load of new activities, skills and weapons to explore, but I really wanted to complete a couple more main missions before I could go about tackling the side quests like I did in the south. The next mission starts right in the middle of the road. Sabal calls Ajay to inform him of a rebel encampment called Utkarsh in the north and asks him to visit them as they would know the area better than anyone. Upon reaching there, Ajay visits the Ranas, who show us the way to an underground area where they have guns. Lots of guns. While reuniting with the Golden Path brethren, Ajay hears a familiar voice coming from the floor above. Pagan Min. This is just a little dialogue segment showing the strong voice acting and the eerie oomph of the character as he leaves and just lets his guards shoot down an old lady and her husband. But of course, Ajay was having none of that as he jumps out from below and hurries out to chase Pagan. To chase Pagan down, we are provided with a buzzer, and handily I had the handheld grenade launcher with me, so I started to fire away. Even with my terrible aiming with this thing, I was able to stop Pagan Min in his tracks and blow him to smithereens. Except that was not Pagan. It was just a body double, and yes, that was very obvious, but before I could be amused by that, I had to take care of Mr. Rude Dude over here shooting rockets at me. And take the bell tower as well while I was at it. Sure, why not? And while I was at it, I took my buzzer all over Northern Kyrat and liberated every single one of those bell towers as well. This will give me a clear look at the map, and I'll get to listen to Radio Free Kyrat everywhere I go, so why not? Oh, and it also unlocks the buzzsaw. Yeah, that's okay too, I guess. After that little detour though, I returned back to complete one more very special mission for the Golden Path. This one began with the meeting of the rebels in one tent with Pagan's speech being the center of attention. In his speech, Pagan does indeed confirm that he's not dead and that Paul and Noor are. But getting to the stuff that we don't know about, Pagan gives the whereabouts of Yuma and in a manipulative manner almost asks Ajay to kill her. Sabal and Amita agree, and hell, who am I even to think about questioning anything at that point?
I started to make my way to the cave where Yuma supposedly is when Pagan calls to clarify what a liability she had become to the royal army because of her obsession with Shangri-La, and yeah, I get it, I have to kill her. But as I made my way into the mine, I found it to be empty, only to realize... Here we go again. Yeah, these were actually Ajay's feelings this time. Even he's sick of being drugged, but this one is a little different. While we went about in this make-believe world of our head, Yuma continuously talked to us about how she hated Ajay's mother because of how she was having an affair with Pagan, who Yuma really liked. Also this, a bunch of Golden Path members being killed by the orders of Sabal. Okay, what? Moving on. I kept moving on till I saw this glitch scene with Yuma transforming into Kalinag, and then the bow came out, which meant that it was headshotting time. Oh yeah. I wonder I hadn't done the second Shangri-La mission if it still would have given me the bow or not. But anyways, yeah, you know my opinion on Shangri-La combat. It gets boring for me quick, and I just found the exit, blew the door away, and proceeded. What followed were a sequence of grappling sequences with Yuma screaming in the background pretty much the whole time. You know how women can be, just blasting you with knowledge about subjects that you don't give a shit about, but you have to pretend that you do just so you can get in bed with them. And that's actually what was happening here, because what followed was a love scene between Ajay and multiple Yumas. And I'm like, why did you even fall for this, you idiot? The mission is literally called Payback, and we're here to kill this lady. How was this gonna go any other way? But anyways, what you're seeing right now is a sequence that you have to repeat 3 times precisely to kill Kalinag, where you stun him with your bow once and then take him down. Repeat this till you perform the final takedown, upon which you'll wake up IRL next to Yuma's body and the payback would officially be complete. SA50 time. Oh baby. This is my favorite gun of the game, and I know I raved a lot about the Shredder, but this high caliber, quick firing sniper rifle is the one gun that I use the most. This was the prime reason why I was holding back, not completing side missions, because I wanted to get this gun in my arsenal. But now that I have it, it's time to tear shit up. So I cleaned up all the outposts in a similar fashion, trying to stay undetected throughout. Went on to save all the hostages, and the SA-50 really shined here, along with the Shredder. Next, used some other awesome weapons like this Bushman assault rifle with this awesome scope for the Eye for an Eye quests. After that, I went back to Shangri-La, and this visit in particular introduced these air pockets which you could use to fly around, and check this out. A bow with multiple arrows, which can shoot multiple enemies with a quick release and concentrate power with the more powerful one. Unfortunately, the basic same formula otherwise applied, with the little annoying enemies and rather easy to get final objectives, but what kept me intrigued was this. I really am hoping for an amazing boss fight in the future. Anyways, back to Kyrat and one of the side activities. Assassinations, where you pretty much have to kill a guy without getting detected and dump his body for bonus something and then flee the area. Pretty straightforward stuff. Other numerous hunting quests include the survival one here, in which you had to protect rebels and a wounded civilian alike from freaking angry bears. This mission really does kind of prove that a kick-ass LMG is a man's best friend. No, and this is not Buzzsaw. And of course, propaganda centers, because Rabi Ray Rana apparently gets off to blown up junk and dead heavy commanders. I mean, he probably does, and I cannot blame him. Anyways, back to Shangri-La again, where this time you tame a freaking wild elephant and he turns into one of those rides that Indian grooms sit on to travel to their wedding ceremony. I'm not even kidding here. Anyways, as you may guess, a lot of this mission involves riding on your elephant and just tossing Rakshasa around mindlessly too, if I may add, and then just rinsing and repeating the old formula till you get to the freaking bell and the final cutscene before the boss battle, which I gotta say, the cutscene was really awesome. And the boss battle itself, well, it was fine and kinda hard and kinda cool too. I wish you could fly like it showed in the previous cutscene and hit the bird while flying, but oh well. What you have to do here is pretty similar to the Kalinag fight actually. Hit the bird while its mouth is open and yeah, live, I guess. That's all you can do, and the bird is gonna release freaking Armageddon volcanoes and annoying archers on you, and you'll just have to live with it till finally you have it down and the tiger sacrifices itself to save Shangri-La. And then it follows to give the message that Shangri-La is in everyone if we just believe in things that are greater than us. Okay? I don't know, man. Let's kill more people first. And a good way to do that would be to complete the final missions of Yogi and Reggie and Longinus. Yogi and Reggie missions were literally the same as the Hunter Syringe, so I haven't showed them to you, but Longinus, yeah, well, his missions are literally the same to a short hunt as well, but what was riveting about it was how it all ended. At the end of it all, Longinus informs Ajay that he is leaving to pursue a new life and wishes us good luck and says something from the Bible which I did not understand. More importantly though, he left us this. This is the LK-1018 and it is a rocket launcher that directs rockets to wherever you're pointing. And yes, it is 100% ridiculous, and yes, it is 101% awesome. Though all fun comes to an end, and after the completion of the side quests, it was time to serve the golden path again. This cutscene with Bajra is a weird one because the game is trying to tell you that this is the final choice between Sabal and Amita, and whoever you choose is gonna lead the golden path after the death of Pagan. And I think it tries a little too hard to deliver this message. Also, I've pretty much been a Sabal dick rider this whole game. It would kinda be a stupid thing to go against him. So the choices revolve around the Jalendu temple. Sabal wants to capture the temple and complete the ritual to make Bajra Tarumatara, whereas Amita, that crazy bitch, wants to blow the temple up. Needless to say, I went with my boy Sabal yet again and made my way to the temple. Even though there are alarms here, and you may think that you can do this stealthily, but I got insta-spotted as soon as I came near the thing. Thankfully, I had an LMG, the MG42, in my weapon slots, and that gun is kinda meant for this type of relentless combat scenario, so it worked out okay. This is the same LMG that the Buzzsaw is based off of, but it is not nearly as ridiculous as that broken weapon, but still packs a punch. The main objective of this mission was to basically disarm 2 bombs that the Royal Guard had placed around the temple, and afterwards holding your ground and defending the temple from Royal Army and reinforcements. After destroying a bunch of army vehicles and killing all the bad guys Rambo style, thy mission shall be completed. Conveniently enough, the next mission is available right at the front door of the temple, where Sabal has brought a confused looking Bajra to the temple to be cleansed for the ritual. Needless to say, he's really proud of us, blah blah blah, and then he gets to the main point, and that is Amita. He starts to raise his concern of how Amita is destroying their traditions, and just when an artillery shot is heard and Sabal is informed that Pagan's men are shelling Utkarsh. Ajay, being the badass that he is tasked to go down to the place and save it from the attacks and get people to safety. Upon getting to safety, the first task is to fend off the reinforcements. a lot of reinforcements. Chargers, Royal Guards, heavies coming from one particular direction at a time, and Ajay is tasked to fend them off with the other Golden Path brethren. Also, after every so often there would be an artillery coming in, and it is mandatory in those situations to find cover and stay in it for the strike's duration. Then, upon its completion, get out and do the same thing all over again and again. Seriously, there were so many reinforcements that you have to fend off that I almost ran out of ammunition for my MG42. Thankfully, I found ammo crates scattered around the village and was able to avert disaster. And so, after the destruction of 3 artilleries, Sabal finally informs Ajay that they have disabled Pagan's artillery base.
What do you think you're doing? This isn't your ride. I've got one last job before we wrap things up.
Kill Amita. Okay, he put it in a much more diplomatic way than that, but I don't think I liked the tone with which he literally commanded Ajay to do his bidding. But I don't really have a choice now, do I? Except I did. So yeah, I got to Amita and didn't kill her. Yup. Fuck you, Sabal, and your tone. But no, really, all this does is just gives you this cutscene where Amita runs away with her propaganda folder. Sabal still leads the Golden Path. And it is under his leadership that the Golden Path is going to attack Pagan's Head Fortress. Yeah, not the one that has been marked on the map with a P on it, but the royal one that is on the foot of his own abode. The objective in the beginning is pretty straightforward. Attack the fortress by taking out guards in front and blowing up 2 front doors. Once inside the fortress, there are various areas of the fortress that your guys have to secure. What that means is going to the green highlighted area on the map and staying on it till one of the progress bar on the top completes. There are 3 areas to be secured: the armory, the comm center, and the HQ. Once accomplishing that and killing all members of the Royal Army in sight, you are tasked to man a machine gun and prepare for reinforcements. This machine gun is seriously powerful for taking out men, but does kind of fall flat when using against trucks, which is a shame because that is what the Royal Guard seems intent on using to take back the fortress. Due to this, I kinda just gave up on the machine gun in between and cleared up the rest of the remaining soldiers on foot to force a retreat. And that is when the fun begins. Bye bye, statue of Pagan Man. Bye bye! Needless to say, Pagan himself is not amused by this activity and called out Ajay, and of course our little badass doesn't think for 2 seconds before hopping into a car and driving up to the King Min's palace. Inside is Min, as casual as ever, obviously. He had prepared another dinner for us, even though the last time it hadn't gone so well. Actually, speaking of, Min does mention the dinner that Ajay and him were supposed to have in the beginning of the game, and he stresses on how he asked Ajay to not move from his place. He reveals that if Ajay had not moved, he would have come back and they would have both scattered the ashes of his mother together. And he's telling the truth. That is actually a secret ending to the game, believe it or not. Great for speedrunning. But anyways, Min further mentions how Ajay was not the same Ajay that came to Kyrat from the US, and that he had changed. And that is when we are given the choice to either kill Min or let him live. Intrigued by all of the things that he said and his connections with Ajay's mother mostly, I let him live. Ajay then proceeds to sit down on the table where Min has his dinner, and during it he mentions how Kyrat belongs to Ajay. The 2 leaders of the Golden Path, they were just placeholders, one of which isn't even that anymore. But cutting the chit-chat, he gets up and takes Ajay outside where the biggest twist in the plot arrives as he talks about Ajay's father and mentions what a psycho he was. So much so that he killed a little girl, the daughter of Min and Ajay's mother, in his anger, and the little girl's name was Lakshman. Take me to Lakshmana. It all makes sense now. So, after keeping the urn next to Lakshmana's, Ajay goes out and finds Min ready to take off in his chopper, where he states that he is leaving Kirat to its rightful owner. Fun fact, you can actually shoot down his helicopter from here as well, and that will kill Pagan, but I didn't do it because I just loved him, and can you blame me? Whoa. Hold on a second though. I'm not 100% done with this game. This is only the end of the story. The 100% completion goes on. And the next logical step was to visit the Jalendu temple because some interesting things are going on there. Yup. Sabal ordering Golden Path members to be killed because the power has got to his head, and in this vein he even pushes Ajay. And you know what happens when you push Ajay. You don't push Ajay. But anyways, after that I took Pagan's fortress in similar fashion to the previous ones, which meant that only collectibles were left. Using the maps available in the weapon stores, I pointed them all out on my map, which made them handy and easy to collect. The first collection that I completed was of 20 journals of Mohan Kale. Next I went after the 150 propaganda posters of the Royal Army and destroyed all of them, before finding the 20 lost letters scattered around Kirat, to then going around and doing some religious work which involved spinning 40 mani wheels, which gave me enough karma to reach the max level, and finally removing 55 masks of Yalung. And that, my friends, is 99.69% completion. Always fun to know that the game is glitched and won't give you 100% completion because of some weapon patches. Well, this is awkward. Meh. I guess we win some and we lose some, and I think that in the end I did end up winning by playing this amazing game. I really enjoyed it. The story was the weakest point of the whole thing. It's really bizarre that one of the strongest points of the whole story are the memorable characters like Amita and Pagan and Longinus, but a lot of the other ones just fall flat. Noor dies like after 2 appearances. We don't even get to see her evil side. Deplore is nice, a little bit of spice added on with his conversations with his daughter did a lot in my mind to build up his character. Yuma again simply falls over after 2 appearances. We're given the hint that she likes Pagan but are never shown anything of that nature. Then there's the gameplay, which in Kirat I found satisfying enough, but in Shangri-La was an absolute mess, although your mileage may vary. The RPG elements are a nice touch, I guess, but the fact that you're literally mandated to fill the skill tree and the fact that it happens before the final mission kinda takes away from it. Albeit I'm used to the Diablo 2 and the deep skill set there, but whatever. Overall, good game. I enjoyed the campaign, enjoyed collecting various things, and the side missions were an absolute highlight. I guess I'll look forward to playing Far Cry 5 in the future, but not anytime soon. Scripting this literally took me 4 months, which is fine I guess, since it was kind of a new thing that I did, and hopefully the next one will be done a lot sooner than this. Other than that, I hope you find this content riveting. Yours truly, with love.